Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati for the third round of the United States Pro Kart Series. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska. Alongside me here this morning in the booth, the one and only Alexander Searle. Xander Clements here on site as well, going to be joining us here later on today when we get into heat racing action. But Alex, it's a beautiful morning, a little bit chilly here today, and that kind of, resetted our racetrack back to green. 61 degrees out this morning, and the sun is shining, and man, what a beautiful morning it is here in Batavia, Ohio.
Yeah, considering yesterday it was quite hot, I was sweating most of the day. Waking up to a breeze was quite a nice feeling. I think it's going to stay, maybe in the high 60s, low 70s for a majority of the day. It's going to feel pretty hot, though, with the sun beaming on this beautiful racetrack, like you mentioned. So I don't know if it's fully reset the racetrack, but it's going to make it pretty quick because usually, with heat beaming down on the racetrack, with the added grip that we've seen with this new tire compound and the Rhino liner on this racetrack, every single time we've come here from the Pro Tour to the Stars Championship Series to the Rotax event, through the club stuff, and then now into the USPKS round number 4 here, we've seen the lap times continue to drop for the classes. So with these cooler temperatures, I think the morning sessions, the warm up, and even heat number 1, we're going to see some pretty quick lap times, some faster go-karts. Maybe drivers that were struggling with too much grip might feel a little better this morning, or vice versa. So that's what these warm sessions are for, to go out there and really test what you have. It's only a 6-lap session, so you don't get a whole lot of testing, but it's better than nothing. So we saw a pretty tight qualifying yesterday, headed by Sebastian Garzone, who put a flyer down on that final lap of qualifying to put it on pole position for all the groups today for the 3 heat races. Nathan Golseth there, he was the standout performer, I'd say, on the Arcade Motorsports entry there. He is going to be on pole for his respective heat races as well, and they split the groups up. So impressive there for Nathan, Amador Martinez, Max Weiland, Chase Gasket Lee. That was your top 5 in the qualifying sessions. That'll change in the heat races when they split them up into the different groups. So far this morning, it's an RPG 1 and 2. Peyton Westcott heads the board, 58.659. Turner Brown, second. Dean Peterson, he's been very quick all year long. He's really improved on that National Motorsports EOS machine. He's up to third, now fourth, as it's an RPG 1, 2, 3. Amador Martinez to P2.
Yeah, good lap early on for Amador Martinez, your round number 3 winner, but a couple of drivers here collected on early.
Dean Peterson
there collected, and another one of the Sodi Racing USA machines on what looks to be, I don't want to say Vanchev, it's the 887 there collected early on this morning, and we'll get name and numbers here in a couple of moments' time, but Maverick McKenna, the driver, currently sits in 37th here, collected earlier on in this morning long session. That's, definitely not how you're going to want to start your morning, not how you want to get your race day underway, and I guess it's officially, race day here on this Saturday afternoon, but yeah, it's been pretty good, and you talked about standouts for me, Alessandro Truchot as well, finishing 10th in his first junior race on the national level scene. You see Holtz Driver Development team owner and driver coach and driver here this weekend. Josh Holtz up there on top of the Terlecki hauler and watching on as the rest of the action gets set to go here on the racetrack. But, you mentioned it a lot. Alessandro Truchot impressed me. Nathan Golseth, by far one of the standouts here this weekend. And this is definitely a weekend where Golseth has definitely come into his own and shown the pace that he's had here this weekend, and kind of when you look at it, it's a good result nonetheless for Golseth and for Garzone as well, who looks to kind of improve his championship points lead and make that just that little bit bigger here this weekend. He's currently in the championship points lead. Behind him is Turner Brown. Diego Ardiles sits in third, Enzo Vidmontien fourth, and Davin Roberts rounds up your top 5 in the KA100 Junior Championship presented by BBS Race Engines. But it's been really close all year long in between all these drivers. Garzone has had a lot of race wins already to his name, and the same thing for Chico Brown and Diego Ardiles as well, who is starting on the back foot here today. 18th was the best he could do in yesterday's qualifying session. So for Diego Ardiles, who's a couple back here from Juanjo Paramo, right there, Ardiles in the Speed Concepts racing machine, he's going to have a lot of work to do today to try and work his way through the field in every single one of the heat races. So that's going to be one of the struggle points here for Ardiles nonetheless.
Yeah, that's a good point you make with Ardiles. Heading into this weekend, only 40 points back from the points lead. And on a championship series where there's a lot of points on the line every single weekend, over 700 every time you head onto the racetrack here. So for Garzone to only be ahead by 25 points, it really goes to show you that, to me, if you're within that top 8 or so in this championship fight, all the way down to Nathan Dupuis there in 9th, actually, about 500 points back. You're in with a shot. I mean, you're behind the 8 ball, but you're in with a chance. Definitely the top 4 with Garzone, Turner Brown, Ardiles, Vidmontien. They're in the mix, but with Ardiles having to start 18th, which in his heat races will put him roughly about 10th or so for all those heat races. He's going to have a lot of work to do, a lot less work to do than Sebastian Garzone, is going to be on pole position for all 3 heat races. Chico Brown inside the top 5 as well for his respective heats, and then Vidmontien with a decent qualifying performance as well for the TKG Kart Public drivers. So out of all the drivers, it's Speed Concepts racing on the back foot, it seems like, on most of their classes for qualifying. Ardiles with the top 5 in warm-up here, so I'm sure a bit of confidence heading into the heat races, but still 4/10 off of what Amador Martinez was able to do.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be feeling, I guess, quite all right going into the day later on today with, newfound pace here this morning. So still a lot of work to do for all these drivers. Ardiles rounds up your top 5, and again, move all the way down this field. Max Weiland 11th, Garzone in 13th. So a little bit of a mix-up here in the morning warm-up session, but nonetheless, here's your schedule on this beautiful Saturday morning at 9:57 a.m. Eastern. We'll go live for heat race number 1, and again, that's going to be behind our paywall. For $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member and catch all the racing action live. Heat race number 2 going to come our way at 1 p.m. just after the lunch break. And then heat race number 3 going to kind of top it off at 3:24 p.m. Eastern. So still a lot of racing action and a lot to come our way later on today. But again, that's going to be behind our paywall. And this is going to be free for everybody to view the morning warm-up sessions. And again, this is obviously until just before 9:57 a.m. when we go into heat racing action. It's going to be interesting. You're definitely not going to want to miss it. So, it's cheaper than Netflix, cheaper than cable TV, and you can watch all the racing action you want here live on Kart Chaser. With some pickup getting set to go underway, we'll take our second commercial break, I should say, of the morning. When we come back, more warm-up sessions coming your way live on KartChaser.com.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental U.S.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is, braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
Welcome back to morning warm-up sessions here. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska, Alexander Searle alongside me here in the booth, but your KA100 seniors out on the racetrack now, and 2 split groups getting set to go out. And the first group just about to go through our timing loop. Yesterday in the qualifying session, the Magic Man, A.J. Myers, was able to get the pole position and put himself starting on that inside line and on the front row for all 3 of the heat races later on today. For Cooper Shipman, your championship points leader here. A good qualifying for him, putting him second. We were able to speak to him after the day yesterday, so we'll definitely be hearing from him a lot more later on today here whenever we get to interview him and kind of chat with him just that little bit. But A.J. Myers, he's definitely got the magic in him because he was able to pull on a really good lap, a 57.789, just about 0.2 quicker than Cooper Shipman. So that was definitely a good showing. And how about Steven Eisert as well? Getting himself with a lot of pace here. So the Sodi Racing USA machine finding a lot of pace yesterday and kind of keeping it up there, as well as Alan Isambard, who's able to pull away a good result in 11th, which isn't too bad considering his circumstances as well. Yesterday, Adrian Cruz on his return here to the national scene. A very good showing for him as well, finishing 5th at the end of the qualifying session. James Overbeck had a really good showing as well. So we have a lot of drivers that have kind of been impressing us. And one of the ones that I guess impressed me a whole lot was Javier Herrera from the CRG Nordum team. Had a really good session and kind of a breakout, I think, career best starting spot going into the heat races later on today, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, seemingly the past couple of events that CRG has come to the racetrack, especially here at the MCC Kartplex, they struggled with, too much grip in the go-kart. We've seen it with Aiden Rudolph and even with Herrera there back in Dowsman as well. So to see the pace, come back to that team is good to see. But for Aiden Rudolph, you have to look back to 22nd for his starting position. So clearly a bit of work to do on one side of the tent. On the other side for Herrera, top 10, pretty good for the CRG team. They can work from there. On our screen, we see A.J. Myers, the Magic Man, sits P2 in warm-up right now. He's just testing a few things, obviously, because yesterday there wasn't much more to improve upon. A 57.789. He was 1.5 tenths clear of the entire field. Here's a couple of the National Motorsports group, and then Cameron Weinberg behind them, working together pretty well. That's the Chad Dawkins Racing Kart Republic driver, like you mentioned yesterday, inside the top 5 in qualifying so far. He heads the field. He's P1 in warm-up, so looking pretty quick so far here, Caleb.
Yeah, good showing so far early on this morning there for Weinberg. Mick Gabriel as well. A good showing for him so far. He currently sits 3rd on the timing charts after what was, not the best qualifying for Mick Gabriel at the end of the day yesterday. He was in 13th, and we're kind of used to seeing him well inside of the top 10, so saying that a bad qualifying is 13th is definitely, all a testament to the hard work Mick Gabriel's been doing all year long and the work he's been putting in all year with that AEM karting team. So it's definitely something to look out for. And you spoke about Rudolph and a couple of other drivers. Rudolph was one of the drivers actually in the championship hunt after a good start of the year for him at his home track at Speed Sports Racing Park. And then after Dowsman with the DNF kind of put him further back in the championship, he currently sits 9th here. So he finds himself just outside of the podium places. James Overbeck right ahead of him in 8th. And again, we look to the championship. Cooper Shipman, your championship points leader, 1,891 points. Not ahead, sorry. That's his championship points lead, I guess you can say. And then behind him is A.J. Myers with 1,838 points after he was able to get the 25 extra points yesterday at the end of qualifying. So not that bad for A.J. Myers, who looks to, like we joked around with him yesterday and spoke to him a little bit. He wanted to get that the KA 100 Senior Championship this year, and then he said, you know what, after I get it done, I'm going to move up to X30 Pro and get it done there too, to show you guys that I can run a single speed as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's able to drive anything, and we know that about A.J. Myers, but it's good to see that he's proven that the magic package works, and he certainly had the magic in him yesterday with that qualifying performance. But so far, now it's all about Cooper Shipman, your points leader, who that points gap is actually closed now in terms of A.J. Myers to Cooper Shipman after that qualifying performance yesterday to put it on pole. So Cooper Shipman knows he's got his work cut out for him a little bit today. Still, P2 is a really good showing for him, and obviously heading for the heat races, that'll put him respectively 1st or 2nd, depending on how they line up for each group for the heat races. So not much further up the field he could go for his starting position. Obviously around this place, inside line tends to be the better spot than the outside, so it's something else to note as for all the drivers have to start on the outside for all their heat races. It's going to be a lot more work for them than the guys on the inside. No, for sure, and that's one of the big characteristics of this year, especially on this new compound. And as the year has kind of progressed, we've started to notice, we went at Dowsman when we've come here the multiple of times, that anything offline is super tricky to kind of get on, right? Super dirty, super dusty, and it's just, there's no grip out there.
all their grip is kind of on the racing line and all wherever the rubber is. And more often than not here, whenever you see drivers go for the move and they drop a tire into, I guess you want to say, the green side of the racetrack, they kind of find themselves skidding off and inside into the grass and whatnot. So that's also been one of the big things that we've kind of been looking at all year long whenever we come here. It's definitely provided something else for all of us here at the racetrack, and provided something else for the viewers also at home. So that's going to be something to look out for later on today whenever we kind of get into that heat racing action, when you see drivers start to go wide, when you see drivers start to make moves, and if they get stuck on the outside, we've seen it not end well many times before.
Yeah, for sure. We saw it back in Dalsman. That outside line was really tricky to navigate here at MCC as well when you're on the outside. Like you said, you get in the marbles, even if you're not in the marble, being on the outside of a track that begins with two left-handers, it is tough to kind of slot in line and find your place on the racetrack. So, yeah, definitely inside is usually where drivers want to be if they can help it. Nonetheless, that's the first group of the KA senior boys and girls done and dusted. Javier Herrera tops the board, a 58 flat. Purple so far, Fernando Luque, P2, Cooper Shipman, P3, Steven Eisert. If you notice, the Sodi Kart USA driver with a new helmet this weekend. It's not really a new helmet. It's actually the one that he used back in Rock Vegas last year, but decided to put it back on, put on the Schubert helmet again for this weekend. Eisert up at the fourth. AJ Myers, your pole sitter for the 3 heat races. He's 5th so far. Still another group of KA senior drivers heading out onto the racetrack right now.
Yeah, so the second group for this morning warm-up session heading out on the racetrack, but like you said, again, standout, Javier Herrera goes quickest. Luque second, Shipman third, and Steven Eisert, that same helmet that he won back at Rock Vegas last year. Putting it back in style here this weekend. We talk about new helmets. Aiden Rudolph as well. New helmet for him this weekend. And a couple of other drivers here out on the racetrack. But we look on and get ready to, I guess, put in some lap times here in this morning warm-up session. And, we say this many times before. This is really going to be a confidence builder. If you had a struggle day yesterday, if you were behind the 8 ball going into the qualifying session and you didn't qualify how you wanted to, and now coming into today, if you find yourself within a good spot and a good fighting chance, and you have a good showing earlier on this morning, then that's going to be good for the likes of Diego Ardiles and KA Junior as well. That's going to build his confidence a lot going into the heat races for him and KA Junior. So that'll be something to look out for here. But we follow around on the racetrack. Eli Warren, Aiden Rudolph here pushing around. And we look at the championship again. Jesus Vasquez not here this weekend. He's 4th in the championship. And Christian Miles isn't here either. He's 3rd in the championship. So 2 of your main championship contenders not here this weekend. And not going to be able to contend for some hardware here this year. They have no drops, if I'm not mistaken, here. I think for the pro classes. For the semi-pro, could be different. But again, it's been kind of something to look out for so far this year whenever they come here. And having 2 guys of that caliber not here this weekend is definitely something to look out for. And there's going to be a lot of mix-up in the championship. You have Cameron Weinberg in a prime position to kind of move up to 3rd after this weekend. Alan Isambard as well, who's 6th. Looks to kind of leapfrog Christian Miles and Jesus Vasquez here this weekend. And for Connor Ferris as well in 7th. James Overbeck puts himself in a good spot. And for Rudolph, we've got to, he needs to pull something out of the bag to get himself up there as well and getting contention here. Jake Drew not here this weekend, obviously. Kane Martin not here either. So a couple of, standouts from the year not here so far. And Donovan Bonilla as well, not here this weekend. So just something to look out for here. But we look back onto the racetrack. Lap time starting to come in. And it's still the CRG Norda machine on top in this morning warm-up session.
Yeah, talking about new helmets there, Connor Ferris rocking the new Bell helmet there on the Team Ferris Racing Car Republic. He's heading a pretty strong group there behind him. It's the likes of Adrian Cruz. You have Alan Isambard, you have Aiden Rudolph, and you have James Overbeck. A couple drivers there in the championship hunt, a couple drivers on the outside looking in. Overbeck right now has an outside chance in the championship with 1.5 or so rounds to go. Really 2 full rounds still to go for Overbeck. He's at 5:44 back from Cooper Shipman in that points lead. Aiden Rudolph 5:78 back. So 2 drivers in that group looking to make a little more headway this weekend. Alan Isambard, he started the year off really strong. Hit kind of a lull when we got to Dalsman, struggled for pace on overall, too much grip on the go-kart for him. So he's about 420 points back in the championship, but with so many points to offer and so many heat races and qualifying and so many ways to earn points here at the United States Pro Kart Series, it's all to play for, especially in a class that is, such almost like a lottery to win this thing with what it takes throughout a weekend to stay consistent.
Yeah, so that's going to be one of the keys, I guess, going into the racing action later on today. Just staying consistent, hitting your marks, and kind of not forcing, I guess, the issue whenever we get down to it. But you look back on the times here, a couple of drivers moving up. Seamus McKendry in the 911. He hit a 58.2, and it all kind of mixes up here. Mr. April himself, Alan Isambard to the top, a 57.799 for the Floridian, who's just in this group there, Alan Isambard. So a good lap for him. James Overbeck as well moves up to second. That's going to bump Herrera down to third. Eli Warren's up to fourth as well. Connor Ferris in eighth. And a couple of other drivers getting himself inside of the top 10. Adrian Cruz as well in the Orsolon Racing Machine gets himself inside of the top 10. But just a little bit of a mix-up here early on, and you see kind of, I guess, the benefit for the second section, for the second session, I should say, going out on the racetrack and already in lap 3, kind of halfway through their session, putting already kind of personal best lap times here, and purple lap times way faster than what Herrera was able to do earlier on today. Just about 2/10 of a difference here in between that CRG Norton machine and the Sodi Racing USA machine. So a little bit of shuffling here early on, but the Sodi Racing USA team leading us away here in this morning warm-up session. They're not able to improve this time around, so they're going to get just about 2 more laps in this morning warm-up session, Alex.
Yeah, well, this bodes well for some entertaining racing later on today, because Alan Isambard, he was quick in the practices yesterday. He was fast in warm-up. Lost it in the qualifying. Spoke to him after the day, fighting some engine issues in that session. So clearly seems to have fixed something, or just the go-kart likes these colder temperatures, because the go-kart looks fast. Like you mentioned, the 57.799, it's actually pretty similar to what we saw on the qualifying lap times yesterday, as Isambard drops the tire there, pushing really hard, working together with Adrian Cruz so far in this warm-up session. Like I mentioned, a lot of heavy hitters here in this group. Overbeck, Eli Warren, Aiden Rudolph working together. Eli Warren, another driver who's really made a lot of headway into his talents, right? He's been super quick this year, and he made his X30 Pro debut back in Dowsman. Really impressive there. He gave us a lot of insight throughout that weekend on the differences between the KA Senior and the X30 Senior category, and really, there isn't a whole lot, but what he told us was the biggest difference actually, and I haven't heard a lot of drivers mention this, but it is a true statement, is, listen, there's less drivers in X30 Pro than KA Senior naturally, but with them being the pro guys, they just make less mistakes. And so I think, honestly, running that race weekend, he told me earlier on this weekend that it's actually helped him back into the KA Senior class. He knows what it takes to win here now. And so for Eli Warren, it's really just another step up for him.
Yeah, it's especially super critical, to kind of go up there, and when you have drivers of the class of Norberg, Carr, Keeble, and the list goes on and on and on. I could go top to bottom with that with the entry list here this weekend, and when you have the class that those guys have, whenever you go and try to get into the mix and try to race against them, and you see, how perfect they are out there on the racetrack, hitting their marks every single time, and it's almost like muscle memory at that point. It's going to be kind of hard to get up there if you're behind the 8 ball. So he knows what he's got to do to kind of get it done here in KA Senior. So no mistakes needed here. But checkered flag in the air by our very own Puder Weisensel. When we come back, more warm-up sessions coming your way. Isambard tops the boards here in KA 100 Senior. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the United States Pro Kart Series.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race, and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Kart Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Kart Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate. And 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States. And Australia, you're up next. So visit kartclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Welcome back. Your Mini Swifts out on the racetrack now as they get set to go out here for their morning warm-up session. A couple of laps already. Going to come in here in a couple of moments' time. But Josh Bergman, the driver here on the pole position. Again, Mini Swifts presented by Sodi Kart USA. Bergman was the quickest driver yesterday after what we saw was a hectic qualifying for these Mini Swifts. And we kind of joked around with some of them at the end of the day yesterday and talked to Josh as well, spoke to his father. And they're, elated to be here and starting on the front row and on the inside line as well. So a good showing nonetheless for the Trinity Karting Kart Republic driver in Bergman, but a little bit of gamesmanship yesterday we saw from that group from Vega on back, kind of just fighting for the track position nonetheless, and looking to see who was going to tow who and who was going to follow who. So that kind of didn't end up benefiting them, and Josh Bergman was able to kind of steal a pole position after getting a monster tow on the rear bumper here of John McClellan. So McClellan, actually, speaking of, goes up to third. Schneegenberg to second, and Marco Samet up to the top of the timing charts here. But Royce Vega going to start second here later on today. Mika Baruch going to start third. Rocco Simone, after his Europe hiatus, coming back, and he's going to start fourth. Parker Ives slated to round up your top five, and your pole sitter from the SCUSA Pro Tour here last time out, Nicholas Orbezo, he's back. Going to start sixth. Ben Gleberman in seventh for the hometown kid. Marco Samet, 8th. John McClellan in 9th for the Australian, and Willem Vitor running up your top 10 here. Simon Jack Klein just on the outside looking in 11th. But a lot of drivers here who have a shot to kind of win this. This is, if I were to compare it a lot to, I guess, more of our single-speed classes in the day, I would compare it a lot to the KE100 senior class. Anybody inside this top 15, anybody in this field could really come away with it at any given point here, Alex. So it's going to be always super interesting seeing these boys kind of go at it and fight and go side by side all weekend long. So that's going to be interesting nonetheless to look out for here. So we look at the lap times, already starting to shuffle here a little bit. McClellan goes up to second, Baruch to third, Rocco Simone up to second. So already kind of putting in some good lap times here. Aston Wyatt as well had a pretty good session yesterday, finding himself kind of in the mix and inside of the top 20 here, just 20th actually. So that was not bad there for Aston Wyatt, who had a really good showing here last year at the United States Pro Kart Series. So we'll look out for Wyatt to work his way up the field, and a couple of other drivers here as well to kind of work their way through. Liam Nachawati, he's been quick earlier on this year. We'll look out for him to kind of work his way through the field. Alex Chandler, he was quick here last year, so expect him to kind of work his way through the field as well later on today. Enzo Di Gennaro, after getting a good win at Road Tax last weekend, he's one of the drivers to look out for here. So a lot of class in this field, Alex, nonetheless. And I know you have some experience, I guess, coaching some of these guys back at AMR Homestead. So, what are you looking out for here? And what's one of the things that you tell these kids going into heat racing later on today?
Well, a couple of things. I'll start with yesterday, right? It was quite a sloppy, I'd say, qualifying session in terms of, what it takes to actually put a fast lap down. Spoke to a bunch of the young drivers, a bunch of the, the dads and the mechanics, and all said, listen, this is one of those things that when you go out there in a huge group like they were yesterday, it's bound to happen. You're bound to make a lot of passes, and you're bound to really ruin each other's laps. I think we got a pretty good preview into what we're going to see in the heat races today. That being said, I think what Josh Bergman was able to do yesterday and find, a drafting buddy and just work together and try to pull away and, do his thing, put a fast lap down, it put him on pole. Heading into today, I think it's the exact same goal, right? You want to make this race as easy as possible for yourself. And what that means is a couple things. If you're the leader, you either back up the pack and, make it a really, tight race at the front and then hope that they battle for second. Usually that's not what happens. To me, you got to go out there, find a buddy, and just pull away. Like you said, it's similar to what we see in the K stuff. As you get lower in the horsepower, the draft means more. right? So for these young kids, it is a lot harder to try to pull away by yourself. You need somebody to go out there and help you. Like you mentioned, though, with how tight it is up at the top, really the top 10, top 15 are very, very close after qualifying. I think the top 10 is separated by a little bit over 0.2 of a second. Really, anybody that top 10 could win it. It's going to be hard to find somebody that's, you know, as fast or a similar pace to you that's not, you know, similar to the other 10 guys around you. So that's why the Mini Swift class and the Micro Swift categories tend to put on such a good show for us, race in and race out, because of how similar, you know, in pace a lot of the drivers are. Now, looking at the championship fight heading into this weekend, it's all about Ashton Woon up front. He's 85 points ahead of Parker Ives, but after, you know, such a interesting qualifying session, I'd say, for Parker and for Ashton Woon outside the top 5 for both of them. They're on kind of the outside looking in. Royce Vega had a pretty good qualifying. He sits 3rd in the points as it stands at the moment. Marco Sam at 4th. Nicholas Orbezo, you know, your pole sitter from the Pro Tour event, he sits 5th right now in the championship. He's 516 points back. So pretty tight up front. The top 3 separated by less than 200 points. But then there's a bit of a fall off now. But from 5th through 10th, it is very tight in the points, right? Alex Chandler, Benja Fernandez, who struggled in qualifying yesterday, qualified outside the top 20. He's going to be a driver that's looking for a lot more today in the 3 heat races. Anthony DeGennaro, and then you have the likes of Josh Bergman, your pole sitter. He's 9th in the points as it stands at the moment, but since that Dowsman event, he seems to have found a lot of pace on more that TKG Car Republic. He's really felt comfortable in this second half of the year, the summer stretch of the go-karting National Series events. So for Josh Bergman, he sits 9th in the points right now, but he's close enough to where I think a good weekend here, he has a shot at the top 5 heading into Newcastle.
Yeah, definitely. So he's going to be one of the drivers to look out for here, and hopefully get himself kind of in podium contention here this week, in podium championship contention here this weekend. So he'll be one of the drivers to look out for here. But we look back on the racetrack, and Maxwell Macha, the SLA Kart Republic, tops the timing charts here. Aston Wyatt going to come into the pits. Ben Gleberman 2nd here, so a good warm-up session here for Ben Gleberman as the checkered flag comes out this time by. Nico Katowski crosses the line now, and he just went up to 2nd. Rocco Simone went P1 here, so a little bit of a shuffle, a little bit of a mix-up here on the final lap of this warm-up session. Simone fastest in morning warm-up. Katowski 2nd, Maxwell Macha 3rd, Ben Gleberman 4th, Parker Ives running up your top 5, Marco Samet 6th, Enzo DeGennaro 7th, Colton Stiegenberg 8th, Paxton Romero 9th, and Josh Bergman running up your top 10. And again, we talked about how close it was yesterday in that qualifying session. And I mean, I think there's only 2 guys inside of the top 10 that are on the same team here. So there's no love lost there, no teammates, no team games being played. So that'll be something to look out for later on today when we get into heat racing action at 9:57 a.m. Eastern. Again, that's going to be behind our pay one for KC Premium members only. So for $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member and watch all the racing action live. We still have 2 more morning warm-up sessions for you guys here this morning. Your KA Masters coming out next, and your X30 Pros. So again, don't miss any of the racing action later on today. But with all that being said, we'll take another quick commercial break. When we come back, KA Masters and X30 Pro coming your way.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race, and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Kart Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Kart Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate. and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit kartclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Welcome back again. Heat racing action coming your way at 9:57 a.m. and we only have a couple of more morning warm-up sessions here. And I made a mistake. We actually have 3 more classes. X30 Junior on the racetrack now. Mad Max Weiland currently the fastest driver here this morning for the Magic Kart team. Tristan Murphy second, Davin Roberts third, Bristol Bornman fourth, Iago Lempin. There is a couple of other drivers crossing the stripe now. Diego Ardiles, Chico Brown, Michael McGoy for the Ryan Perry Motorsports team, and a couple of other drivers here. But this X30 Junior class has definitely provided us with some good racing action all year long. We saw the heartbreak for Chico Brown out at Dowsman earlier on this year, Alex, and that was kind of one of the big things coming out of there that kind of put Chico Brown even further behind in the championship. He's currently 8th here with a lot of work to do to get back up to the top 5 even. So a lot of work to do here for Chico Brown, and for Diego Ardiles, a 252-point lead over his teammate in Jackson Woney. Alexander Vanchev currently sits third, 361 points back from Ardiles. Victor De Alencar sits fourth. The lead, Rawson Performance Group driver here in the championship. And David Montien rounds up your top 5. Davin Roberts for the Ryan Perry Motorsports team sits 6th. Ty Fisher 7th. And you go back to Chico Brown, Michael McGoy, and Chase Gassie at lead. Drivers who have been really quick this weekend. It was all about Chico Brown in qualifying yesterday. He put it on the pole position over what I believe was Chico Brown, as we get set to pull up these results here shortly. But again, they definitely gave us some really good qualifying. It was Enzo Vidmontien, starting alongside Chico Brown here on the front row. Iago Lempin starting 3rd. Sarah Bradley, a good qualifying session for her. She's starting 4th here. Mad Max Weiland starting 5th, and then Ardiles 7th. I mean, that's not bad in the, I guess, position-wise, but, definitely not where he wants to be, and definitely not where Jackson Woney wants to be either, down in 18th with a lot of work to do to work his way through the field. Victor De Alencar as well. He's really close to the championship in 4th. He's starting 16th, so a lot of drivers have a lot of work to do here today to kind of work their way up the field. And for Ty Fisher as well, find himself just outside of the top 10 in this morning warm-up session. We talked to him a lot yesterday, and spoke to his dad as well, and he was kind of telling us how they were struggling just a little bit in that X30 class. So, yeah, we'll see how it kind of turns out here today for Ty Fisher nonetheless. But we look at the lap times here this morning, a 56.699 compared to the 56 flat that they ran. So just about 7/10 off for the racetrack here this morning. But, I mean, it'll be ideal to go faster over one lap, but you got to keep it on the racetrack and race with a very hungry pack of wolves right behind you here today when we get into heat racing action. So that'll be something to look out for here, Alex.
Yeah, we have an interesting field here heading into the heat races later on in the day, starting at 9:57 a.m. Eastern time. But for Chico Brown to be 1.5 tenths clear of the field, that was actually one of the closest sessions that the other drivers have had to Turner Brown all weekend long. He was so dominant yesterday through the practices, through happy hour, and even into qualifying, obviously putting him on pole position. And then his teammate Iago Lempin there, 3rd place. Great qualifying for him. Sarah Bradley, like you mentioned, great qualifying for her. Max Weiland 5th. If you look at the championship standings, right, a lot of the heavy hitters there, struggling a bit for pace, right? We look down, like you said, 7th for Ardiles, not bad, but for 3.5 tenths off the pace, it's not really what we've come to expect from the Speed Concepts crew. And really, to be fair to them, they were super quick all weekend long in both junior and senior categories specifically, right? You have to look even into the senior side of things for Austin Garrison. He was one of the only drivers that was able to contend with the likes of Norberg, with Brandon Carr all day long for pace. Heading into qualifying seems to have caught them out a little bit, the entire team in KA and X30. And so I expect them to bounce back this morning into the heat races. I mean, looking at right now into warm-up, they sit 3rd, 6th, and 7th. So for Wolney, for Ardiles, for Bradley, who actually was the lead Speed Concepts Racing driver in yesterday's qualifying session, I think they're going to be able to find some pace. There was really no reason. They were a little confused yesterday as to why they were so quick in happy hour and then lost it into qualifying. Seems to have found a bit of pace here in warm-up, though.
That seems to be the same thing with a lot of drivers, you know. Austin Garrison told us the same thing, that he had a lot of pace in the happy hour, found himself top 5 all weekend long, top 3, kind of one of the drivers to look out for, one of the drivers to beat, and then you get into the qualifying session, and in his own words, he said, it was just a bad session. I guess I wasn't hitting my marks, and I wasn't doing what I was doing earlier on today to kind of put myself in a good spot for the heat races later on today. So that was kind of the story there for Austin Garrison and a lot of the other kind of Speed Concepts racing drivers. But this morning, a lot of pace here for Wolney, already up to P3, so not bad nonetheless. Chico Brown, Ramirez, a good showing for him, and Enzo Vidmontien, Ardiles looking to mix it up here. Fausto Arnado as well, so a lot of confidence.
Wow.
Boosting.
That's a identical lap time to what the pole sitter Chico Brown did yesterday. So how about it for Speed Concepts Racing? They found some pace on board that Carlos Sainz machine for Diego Ardiles.
Yeah.
So yeah, P7 starting spot. You're points leader heading into this weekend, but he looks to be, you know, one of the drivers to watch in these heat races.
Yeah, one thing is to go fast, another thing is to pass later on today. So we'll see how it all plays out here. But X30 Juniors done and dusted here in a couple of moments' time. Your KA Masters will hit the racetrack.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental U.S.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that helps a driver who's just starting out in the sport all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is. Braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
Welcome back. Your KA Masters out on the racetrack now, and it was all about Tom Gershner yesterday, but we have issues here at the moment for Andy Kutcher, who's currently second. So it seemed like his engine just came to a complete shut off here. I don't know if his throttle cable snapped and he's driving it with his hand here, or what is the issue here for Andy Kutcher in this morning warm-up session. And I think that may be it here. Well, it is definitely going to be it here for him in this morning warm-up session, but I think that may be the issue that Andy Kutcher is probably facing here in this morning warm-up session. But Laurencio Mardan currently quickest, and like I said, it was all about Tom Gershner yesterday, Alex, and then we work our way into the pits, and what do you know? It wasn't Tom Gershner, it was Robbie Bajoso. So Robbie, the driver, on the pole position here today after I guess his name wasn't updated after the happy hour session, but Robbie, when we spoke to him, everything just came together, and he's out here racing, and it's definitely going to be something to look out for here today. And the fact that Robbie Bajoso only had 14 laps on the weekend, the couple that he had in the happy hour, and then he had about 5 laps in the qualifying session to do what Robbie Bajoso did. This guy is an absolute animal, and to put himself on the pole position, I know me and you are going to want to catch up with him later on today to get an interview with that guy. So he's definitely surprised us here, but he's going to be the driver on the pole position. Not a lot of the same luck here in the morning warm-up session. He's currently 8th. Miguel Muir 7th. Scott Carapalati 6th. Martin Stone rounds up your top 5. Clay Settles 4th. Andy Kutcher, after issues for him, he's going to hold on to 3rd here on his 2nd lap. Nicky Coelho 2nd. Laurencio Mardan, I guess purple here in this morning warm-up session at 59.107. Clay Settles is 4th here, so spoke to him as well yesterday in his machine. So we'll talk to Clay Settles as well later on today. But I mean, talking to him, he's kind of shown his pace already, and this is a lot better than what it was for him when he came here a couple of weeks ago at the Stars Championship Series. To see Clay Settles kind of lap around and doing a good job here this weekend, it's kind of good to see him. Inside the top 5 here, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. Clay Settles, he showed pace yesterday on board his top kart machine. I mean, he was pretty quick, like you said. Good to see him back near the front again. He's about 3.5 tenths back now in that warm-up. That's similar to what we saw in the qualifying session. As we can look at Martin Stone, the 401 machine, he sits 5th right now in warm-up. He struggled a bit for pace back in Dowsman. He was able to he got back towards the front throughout the heat races, of course. But for Martin Stone's caliber of level of driving, I'd say he's had an up and down year in the Masters class. There's one of the Rocket Racing Company.
Oh, Elefante there.
Paul Elefante, he was 10th during this warm-up session in the barriers. Looks to be down there, maybe in turn number 4.
It looks like he's
turn number 2.
Turn 2.
Got to be turn number 2.
I mean, I think he's in the sweeping left-hander here, Alex, and I think he is, yeah. See, I know my corner's better than you, man. He's in the sweeping left-hander there. Unfortunate there for Paul Elefante, finding himself in the wall early on here. Getting a little bit of shift or push start to get himself back going, but unfortunate there for Elefante, as no drivers coming his way yet. But checkered flag in the air by Porter Weisensell, and that's going to be it here in this morning warm-up session. Laurencio Mardan quickest, Nicky Coelho 2nd, Andy Kutcher 3rd, Clay Settles 4th, Martin Stone here 5th, and we move on. But yeah, that was it for your KA Masters here. So X30 Pro coming your way next, and it was Brandon Carr who surprised everybody yesterday and put himself on the pole position here, Alex. So Brandon Carr, speaking to him, we talked to him a whole lot, and he was telling us how much grip he had in his Kart Republic and changes that he was making. They threw the kitchen sink at it, and finally it worked out, and he's he's slated to start on the pole position here later on today, but morning warm-up still coming your way. Ryan Norberg, Flying Ryan, with the number 1 plate here, finds himself ways back in the championship, 5th here at the moment. He's going to start 2nd and on the outside line. That's, arguably, we've talked about it almost all weekend long, and every time that we come here, starting on that outside is super difficult here. So I know he's not going to be, I guess, all too elated when we get onto those race starts. ADT and Harley Keeble starting on that inside line. So an all-Kart Republic first 3 rows for the starting spot, and then another KR with Austin Old starting on the outside of row number 2, finishing 4th, and then after post session penalties. Luis Speck found himself disqualified from that session for rear width, and so he was disqualified as well as Austin Perrin, unfortunately. So that moves up Carter McMurray, the rookie, up to 6th. He had a really good showing in his Timmy Tech Com Kart there yesterday. Paulie Massimino as well. He moves up to 7th. Garrison up to 8th, so that puts him on the outside. Gavin Bailiff inside of the top 10, starting 9th. And then Nicholas Terlecki running up your top 10 with Gia Cicero on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, the standout driver of the session, Brandon Carr, obviously considering I'd say the lack of pace he had yesterday morning into even the happy hour session. To put it on pole, I mean, he was as shocked as I'd say we were. He actually spoke to us after the session. He said, listen, I saw a couple of my buddies saying that I was first coming to the pit lane. I didn't believe him until I saw it on the timing sheets. So for Brandon Carr, I haven't seen a smile on his face that big in quite some time for him. But for me, Carter McMurray, I mean, incredibly impressive. His debut in the X30 Pro Senior category, not only is he 6th, I mean, it's less than 3/10 between himself and a pole position. That's incredible on board that comp car machine. And so for McMurray, let's see if he can keep that pace together through the heat races today. I mean, one thing, like we've always said, is going fast over one lap. It's doing it over a bunch of laps like we saw from Eli Warren. Ryan Norberg in the pits here, either a bit of an issue for him or just kind of a, let's see if the kart works. Okay, it works after one lap. Let's pull into the pits. Don't risk junking it or having any other issues on board the go-kart. But to pull in that early, a bit suspicious if you're the Rawson Performance Group saying why so early for the number 1 plate. But Ryan Norberg in the pits here early in warm-up.
Yeah, and that was on his, I guess, first flying lap, and then put it into the pits here. So something, I would assume, definitely a miss for him to kind of cut his session short here today. So definitely not ideal for the Rawson Performance Group Cosmic to come in this early, but Carr kind of in a kerfuffle here as Aiden Levy, I believe, another driver in that group. Carter McMurray there as well. I believe that's Levy, if I'm not mistaken here, Alex, in that Kart Republic right behind. So they're going to go around, but you talk about, I guess, rookie standouts for me. Austin Olds to put himself 4th here this weekend for the MPG Academy boys. That's definitely a good showing for Austin Olds, only his 2nd 125cc race here this weekend, and to kind of do it the way he did and be competitive all weekend long nonetheless. He did a really, really good job yesterday, so good to see there as one driver way off into the weeds here. Gia Cicero off the racetrack here, so definitely not how Gia would like to start her morning warm-up session. She's in the infield here, and I think, yeah, she's in the infield here just next to the straightaway and next to the sweeping left-hander, so not how Gia would like to start her morning here today. So unfortunate for Gia, and they're going to have to kind of dig her out of there when we get it, but before we get into heat racing action later on today. So man, oh man, what a morning warm-up session with a couple of RPG Cosmics here. But Quentin McPherson, that being said, he's up to 3rd here, so that's a good showing. And how about it for Nicholas Terlecki as well in the Host Driver Development Machine, a 56.057. So Terlecki, a lot of pace here today, and then you see Gia able to work her way out of the go-kart. So good to see she's doing all right, but yeah, definitely not. She would have wanted to start her morning here.
Yeah, for sure. A bit of a unusual incident there to end up in the weeds heading into the S's section of the racetrack, but good to see her up and out of the go-kart and all right. So far, it is all about Paulie Massimino now in this warm-up session. He goes to the top of the board on board the BJ RMDR LN kart there, 55.618. Puts himself between himself and Garrison now 1.5 tenths. That's your top 2. Austin Olds in 3rd. Your pole sitter, Brandon Carr, now sits 4th. Here's the interim S pairing of Alistar DeTulio and Harley Keeble right now. DeTulio, last time around, put a decent lap to put himself in the 5th. Keeble still struggling a little bit for pace here in this morning session, down in 14th place. But at the end of the day, it is a warm-up session. There's a couple things you got to think about, right? You don't really know what they're testing. They could just be testing their one-lap pace. Most likely, they're going to try to do as best as they can to test what they're going to feel like in the heat races. But it's really hard to schedule that, right? So it's really hard to kind of plan for that. This is as early of a session as you're going to get if you're the X30 Pro senior guys. With only a 6-lap warm-up for all of them, there's not a whole lot you can test. It's really more to see if everything stays on the go-kart. You'd like to be fast in warm-up, but usually the rule of thumb is, listen, you don't want to be the fastest guy in warm-up because usually it tends to fall off from there unless you can stay ahead of the curve. So for Brandon Carr, hey, he's bouncing back from where he was yesterday. A pole position yesterday, so far P1 in warm-up. Massimino P2, now Carter McMurray in P3.
Yeah, so very, very good there for McMurray as well. Olds running inside of the top 5 here in 4th. Austin Garrison as well. This is going to be a lot of confidence here going into the heat races later on today. There's a driver who can definitely make moves and get them done quickly. It's definitely going to be Austin Garrison here. Luis Speck back to 6th, ADT in 7th. And then you have Harley Keeble, teammate of ADT, back in 12th. But I mean, again, that entire, I guess, Kart Republic operation here this weekend, not, you know, with Trinity Karting Group, and then with the Interim S Boys and whoever else is on the product here this weekend. They had a long talk with Eric Jones yesterday, and you know, Aiden Levy as well. They had a long talk with Eric Jones on how to kind of fix the go-kart, how to go faster, what they needed to do, and how they needed to work together and kind of do it for the brand and for the KR team nonetheless, right? So. For Kart Sports North America yesterday, to have all those guys on the inside line and for Austin Olds to be there on the second row as well, that was definitely a really, really good showing for all of them. And then for the Race Lab TB kart there as well, of Luis Speck to find himself kind of after a DQ yesterday in his qualifying session. He's going to need to do a lot of work. We know the pace that this guy has coming from overseas, so we'll kind of look for him to work his way through the field in all of these heat races. So. Austin Olds there making a move, and Luis Speck not too far back. So obviously we're going to keep an eye on all these guys as they work their way through the start-finish straightaway. There's Austin Perrin as well in the SLA machine. I believe Sodi, if I'm not mistaken. So checkered flag in the air this time out. A couple of drivers diving into the pits early here in this one. Austin Olds and Luis Speck, but that was pretty much it. Brandon Carr, fastest driver of the session, a 55.372. And I guess we'll wait here for ADT and Harley Keeble to get set to cross the stripe. But Paulie Massimino rounds up your top 3. Brian Garcia, how about it for the other Chad Dawkin Racing Machine inside the top 5. Luis Speck rounds it up. Austin Olds, Austin Garrison, Carter McMurray, Gavin Bailiff, and Santi Fernandez here again. Norberg and Cicero, the big stories coming out of this morning warm-up session. Norberg didn't even put in a lap, and Cicero found herself off the racetrack and into the grass. So that'll be something to look out for here later on today. But with all that being said, the morning warm-up sessions are done. Our free part of our coverage is done. In a couple of moments' time, heat races coming your way, $9.99 a month, KC Premium membership. Watch all the racing action live. We'll see you guys on the other side.